it was a dramatic change overnight, May 10th, 1940. We were preparing for our guests to come because we could call a pension, where people stay during their vacation, you know. And so we had everything prepared for that. Instead of that, the wrong guests came. It changed overnight. The bombers came over, you know, you could see in white, and the open doors. The Junkers, they call them. Those were the big airplanes coming over, and that was the end, a shock. Right, from there on in, life changed completely. Everything was rationed: sugar, butter, clothes, bicycles, tires, you name it. Bread was rationed. They would allow us X number of ounces of meat per month, but if you had a pig or chickens, they would take that coupon away from you. So what we were doing then is we were hiding these things, like we had a pig at home, a little thing. We didn't have any food for ourselves, so any scraps that were left over, there wasn't very much. And you couldn't trust your neighbors anymore. That was the worst part of what happened. A number of people, I don't know what the percentage was, but they thought, boy, Germany is going to rule the world, so we better join them. And they were trading. You couldn't trust anybody anymore. Do they belong to their party or don't they? You know. So as far as food is concerned, it was a complete change. You know. Instead of tea, we would have some artificial coloring of water. That would be the tea. The bread was mixed with tulip bulbs. We'd grind them, you know, and try to get some flour out of that. And milk was practically water. It was all blue. We would still go to school. Walking, of course, we always walked. But some of us used to have bicycles, but you couldn't get any tires anymore. So you walked. And you could see on people getting thinner all the time.
Did the Germans try and influence what was taught at the schools? Or not, or they leave that alone?
No, but a lot of rules were made, you know, but we could still study English. Because that was part of the curriculum, you know, French, German, English, and Dutch. But later on, later part of the war, we couldn't sleep anymore because the Allied force, the airplanes were coming over day and night. Well, mostly during the night. See, we lived pretty close to the German border. And sometimes they were misdirected and they would release the bombs a little early. We'd get them. Instead of going, they would be dropped off in Germany. So next morning you just never knew, you know, what it was like.
What was the German town that they were trying to bomb? I mean,
Aachen.
Aachen.
Yeah. It's spelled in Dutch A-K-E-M. In German it's spelled A-A-C-H-E-N, Aachen.
They have supply depots, or do they have supply depots, or what do they have there that they're trying to bomb?
They're factories.
Factories, okay.
Yeah.
That's where Hans worked?
I'll come back to that now. Yeah. All young men and working people, you had to be registered. If you were working in the coal mines, you won't have a problem. But they give you a permit to stay. If you're not, you had to report, and they would send you anywhere they want. They would send you to Germany or France, working in with the Allied, where they were building U-boats and torpedoes. And of course, they were always under the attack by the Allied forces. To make a long story short, what effect did it have on us? That my brothers had to report for work. Well, 2 of them were sent to France. They had to report to France, where they were building the U-boat harbors. They got some stories about that, you won't believe this. You were pouring concrete during the day, and at night, Allied forces would come over and bomb. Next morning, pour concrete again. You know? You just know. So that's what they didn't have. They didn't have any kind of freedom. Of course, it was all foreign labor. And then they came back home one time and said, "We're not going to go back anymore." So they had to report in Germany. And my brother Hans, for instance, he worked in a factory where they were building tanks. He had to do a lot of welding. That's where he learned to weld. Later on, it was a good idea.
Yeah.
It was a skilled welder when he came over here. Anyway, those were the stories that we had during the war. And what happened there is at night, after the shift was over with, my brother Hans, well, he was working in the factory where they made tanks. He'd take the train and go home. So they could bomb all they wanted in Germany, but he was safe.
Yeah.
And every morning he would go report back. And Emil, he was in Cologne, together with Wynn. Those are the 2 that were working in France. They couldn't come home during the night. They would stay over in Germany.
Would they come home on weekends, or
Huh?
would they come home for weekends?
No,
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 just left them there.
no, they wouldn't let them across the border, because they figured if they go home, they won't come back. With Hans, it was a different story, because it was really close to that factory was close to the border.
Yeah.
So he would come home during the night. And then next morning, you have a good chance that the damn factory was bombed again. He worked a lot with foreign people that had to report to Germany. So he worked with Poles and people from other occupied countries that would be working in that factory. But he was lucky enough he could come home during the night. So from whatever he could get a hold of to eat, you know, he'd bring it in the morning. He could feed those people there too.
So who remained at home at this time?
Well, here and myself and my sister.
Yeah.
My dad was so old he couldn't, at that time, he couldn't report for work, you know. And he worked in what they call the distribution office. That's where they were handing out the coupons.
Yeah, okay.
That's where he worked. The same with my sister. The 2 of them worked together. Once in a while, you know, he could the coupons. Which was very dangerous.
Yeah.
You know. So we were not allowed to listen to the radio. We had to turn the radios over and that was off limits. Well, we had a small radio.
Oh my gosh!
And my mother was yeah, no fear, you know, she would be listening to the radio broadcasting from England, BBC.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what the Germans did, and the traders that cooperate with the Germans, they would try to catch those signals, and if they caught you, you're really in trouble. You know, concentration camp was nothing.
Yeah.
But she was insistent that she wanted to know when this war was going to go over,
Yeah.
and where are the Allies, you know? They hadn't even landed yet. So we were listening to these clandestine radios. And I'll never forget that one time she was listening to it, and we would be hiding that radio in the piano.
Oh.
She was listening to it, and to make a long story short, my sister got acquainted with a Dutch policeman, and he would come over in the evening, you know, and then later on, when it was dark, he would leave. And we were listening to the radio, we didn't want to expose him to that,
Yeah.
so we were waiting till he left. And then we would turn on the radio. And oh my God, one evening, the bell rang. Oh, they caught us, you know, no one. And make a long story short, later on we found out it was him
Oh,
coming
okay.
back because he forgot his cap or something,
Yeah.
you know. I mean, little things like that scare the hell out of you.
Yeah.
You know?
Now, did you have what do you call it again with the lights out?
Oh, yes. All windows were covered with black paper.
Yeah.
And you could not have any windows that were not covered and turn on the lights. No way. Everything was pitch dark.
What do they call that again?
So there's the, you had it here too,
Yeah.
along the coast.
Yeah.
That we could not walk in the street at night. And there was limits, 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock, depends on when the good bar. After that, you couldn't get out of the house anymore until morning, when the sun came out. So we were restricted in a lot of ways. Another chapter of it is we were hiding Jews at home. That was another one. So our life was kind of fun. You know, we couldn't go any place, and we'd have some old phono records, and we'd play music, and we would be dancing at home with those Jewish people. And my sister was home, and my parents were home, but most everybody else was gone. But that's where I learned to dance. Through the Catholic organization.
Oh, okay.
They would be placing those Jews in Catholic families. And of course, most people couldn't get out at all. Even during the day, they couldn't leave. They move them, let's say we would have them for a year, and then they transfer them to another one, afraid that maybe the people in the neighborhood would even see them. You know?
Yeah.
But there was 2 of them that were with us for a couple of years anyway. And that is a story in itself. We kept them until the liberation, you know, until the American troops came. My brother, that's a long story. We never heard from these people again. The day that you were liberated, they were gone. But until later on, many years afterwards, as a matter of fact, the gal was supposed to be engaged to one of my brothers. When the American troops moved in, she got acquainted with an American captain, and that was the end of her. She was gone.
That was lean.
Lean.
Yeah.
Lean, yeah. And
She moved to
and the other-
San Diego,
the
or
other guy, he was a diamond cutter from Antwerp, and a nice guy, you know. We would be in the evening before we go to bed. We would do handstands, you know, up against the wall. That was our excitement.
yeah,
He was a good athlete. I wasn't, but he taught me how to do it. I don't know whether I could still do it or not, but anyway. They're the same thing, you know, the minute liberation came along, he was gone. But later on, quite a number of years afterwards, that my sister found out where he was, but she never had a chance to talk to him anymore because he volunteered to be in a bomb squad, which they were exploding, the bombs that would drop and they did not explode, he would explode those. He belonged to the part of the army, of the Dutch army, but nobody knew anything about him. We didn't know where he was, never heard from him, never a note, nothing.
yeah.
Anyways, to go back to her, the gal, she she left and lived in Los Angeles. How did we hear from her? Well, I think her husband died, and then she came back to Holland to find where my brother was.
Yeah, I remember that because she came and visited. I met her.
Huh?
I met her
You did?
when she came and visited the house. You remember that?
Oh, maybe you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, with my brother.
Mm-hmm.
We also had a couple of Jews living with us, and they wore the star, and they were called up, and they had to report to Germany via what they call a camp in the northern part of Holland, and then they sorted them out, and then they were put on the train to back to the concentration camps.
Yeah.
One of them died in the concentration camp, the other came back. They were wealthy people. They owned a lot of movie theaters in Holland.
Okay.
And when they came back, you know, they demanded that the property would be returned to them. And they were kind of refused, the Dutch government. Well, there was a big stink about that.
Yeah.
To be sent to the concentration camp. They would pick up Dutch families and send them to the concentration camps together with the Jews and everybody else.
Why?
And
Why did they do that?
Excuse me?
Why did they do that?
Well, I'll give you a good example. My brother-in-law.
Just to throw a little fear into it. So they
My brother-in-law was a student at the time, and all students had to report to the government, that stinking government that we had. It was all National Socialists.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he didn't. So they came after him to find out where he was, and they found out at his house, his parents' house, that he was underground. So they arrested his dad and his brother, sent him to the concentration camp, and never came back.
Oh.
So you're talking about fear,
Yeah.
you know? And the house was like this, you know, and then there was another side to it, and there was an attic above that. So in case of an emergency, we had something that we could hide him in. But we never had to do that. Those were the accommodations that we had. But up in the northern part of the country, you had, there's books written about it. They were hiding the people under the floors and everything else. In case of an inspection